Social media is dividing us. It's polarizing people more and more, incentivizing extreme opinions, pushing people to hatred for one another, whether far left or far right, it doesn't matter. It's so bad that in the United States, experts are now saying that we're on the brink of civil war. We haven't seen tensions like this since the freaking Civil War. That's insane, bro. And I think social media is the culprit for two reasons specifically. One, social media incentivizes division through recommending divisive content. Ignore that. And number two, social media creates echo chambers through these algorithms, which cause more division inadvertently. So let's focus on the first point. Social media recommends divisive content. How does social media recommend divisive content? Well, through its algorithms. Social media platforms each have one thing that keeps viewers hooked onto the platform. Each of them have a super powerful algorithm. Their algorithm is what keeps you watching videos. It will keep you going down YouTube rabbit holes or scrolling through TikTok and Reels and Shorts for hours and hours when you don't even realize time has passed. Now, how does this algorithm keep you hooked? Well, it placates to their emotions. The algorithms will recommend content that stimulates your emotions. And it's really 5 emotions that I've narrowed it down to. There are more it stimulates, but here are the main 5. 1 is curiosity. The second one is happiness. The third one is lustfulness. The fourth one is anger. And the fifth one is disgust. Now, of course, you're going to watch content to be entertained. That's why we turn on the TV, to watch good TV shows. Of course, you're going to want to watch content that informs you, that you're curious about. And it's a shame to say, but many people are down bad. So, of course, they're going to watch spicy content. They're going to watch freaky content. That's why Black YouTube has a problem. That video is a great video, by the way. But the last two I want to harp on so much more, because these algorithms will recommend content that makes you angry or makes you disgusted. Think about it this way. Anger and disgust are the emotions that make you hate people. So the algorithm, when it recommends you something to be angry at, it's usually because it either attacks your identity or someone is criticizing someone who attacks your identity, which makes you angry. We as humans seek to be angry at someone and to be angry with someone. Now, when I mean angry with someone, I mean that you look for a group to participate in group anger, that you're all focusing your anger and sometimes in extreme cases hatred for one singular group, because it is our nature to uplift ourselves and to blame others for our problems. It is what it is. We have to work against it. That's what Christ calls us to do. And these two emotions lead to scenarios where you may start off watching self-improvement content, but it inevitably turns to either red pill, black pill, incel-filled spaces. These spaces where hatred is harbored for the other gender. And I use gender because that's still a hot topic today, dating culture, but it goes for anything, whether it be racism. That's why we have the extreme between Pan-Africanism and hatred for white people, and white supremacy and the hatred for black people, the extremes with Islam and Christianity, the extremes between all these different groups, because we love to prioritize. We as humans love to prioritize the in-group. We love to prioritize those who agree with us. And to make ourselves look better, we bash those who disagree with us. We look at them and say, you suck because you are different. And social media only feeds into that because it makes money. Content creators will make this content because they know people will click on it because it gets views. And I understand wanting to bring awareness to issues. And I understand sometimes it is appropriate to call out people. I believe it is very appropriate to call out people who are morally inconsistent, or people who spread hatred, or people who you disagree with. It's okay. Free speech is a wonderful thing, but it is also dangerous when these algorithms can sometimes be used to platform hatred. Now, I'm not saying we should censor these people. They have the right to be wrong. They have the right to hold their hatred. But these social media algorithms only platform them more, and only push their rhetoric and hatred more. This descent into these crazy rabbit holes where creators are making content that's intentionally divisive, and people are consuming intentionally divisive content, leads to the creation of echo chambers. My second point. I'm sorry if I'm sniffling. It's because my allergies are killing me and my sinuses are going crazy. So if you want to see me get better, you might as well click that subscribe button, you know what I'm saying? Help me afford a Claritin and some albuterol. Thank you. Now on to my second point. Echo chambers. Echo chambers have always existed, right? There's no denying that. Echo chambers existed in the 1800s when white people justified slavery. Echo chambers existed during Roman times when the Romans justified the slaughter of Christians. Echo chambers exist today where the Democratic Party justifies what they do and the Republican Party justifies what they do and say. But specifically when it comes to social media, echo chambers are a huge reason why we're so divided. They are so easily formed on these platforms. And it goes back to the algorithm, right? The algorithms will recommend you content that agrees with who you are, that lines up with your identity. It recommends you content that lines up with what you believe, your ideologies, your partisanship. Of course, you want to see those things. So you're going to follow people who agree with you. These social media sites also play on your desire for community. People want community. It's natural. And since we are lonelier than ever, I have a whole video talking about how we're lonelier than ever, by the way, which you should totally check out. We want community today. And what better place is it than on the magical devices that has our attention 24/7. So with an algorithm constantly recommending content that reaffirms our beliefs and further cements our identities, we find ourselves going down rabbit holes that help us join groups that only validate how we feel about those who disagree with us and our worldview. I use the red pill example because I used to be a part of that world. I thought that women were supposed to fit this role that wasn't biblical, that they give the illusion of biblical womanhood and manhood, but it's really disguised under machismo and hatred for the opposite sex because of bad experiences. But that's not the point. These echo chambers lead to the propagation of false information, the propagation of hatred towards other groups, the propagation of destruction, of anger. They create more anger on top of what the algorithm does. They create more dissension. So now we have Twitter spaces full of people who hate my skin color. We have Discord servers full of young men who are angry at women who feel gender resentment. I would coin the term. Pay me money if you use that. We have subreddits that are full of women who are resentful towards of men. We have social media spaces where people are just validating themselves without listening to the other side. They're demonizing the other side because they have to have the right view because everyone in their circle is telling them they're correct. And when we give in to these echo chambers, when we're not challenging our views, that is when tensions rise, because then it becomes an attack, not just on my group, but on me as an individual, because I start to identify so strongly with that group. It's people's nature to run to the other extreme when something doesn't work. You don't like capitalism? Well, you just have to run to communism, because that's the only solution, I guess. You think feminism is done? Well, we got to go back to the feudal days where you would trade women for cows, and women have to stay at home, and yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. You think our justice system is corrupt? No, we don't need justice reform. We need to tear the whole system down. You didn't like the Black Lives Matter protests, or you have critiques of how they did it? No. We need to run to white supremacy, because that solves everything, right? People think that if you run to the other extreme, it solves things. And that's due to these echo chambers being formed. And it's due to social media algorithms having us tether our identities to our ideologies more and more today than ever before. So how do we solve this issue? Well, I think the solution is pretty simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. We need empathy. And not just any empathy, but I mean, literally, it has to be supernatural. This empathy needs to drive you to hang out with people you disagree with. And I know that's crazy, because there are some people that disagree with you that absolutely hate your guts, which I'm not saying you should go run up to them willy-nilly and say, hey, I want to hang out with you. They're just gonna pull out their shotgun and shoot you, or they're gonna stab you or try to fight you. Don't do that. What I am saying is you should go hang out with those who are at least a little willing, even though they may vehemently disagree with you. If there's a drop of willingness in them to meet you, go meet with them, go speak with them. They're going to say things that you hate. They're going to say things that make you mad. You're going to feel like your identity is attacked. But I want you to know one thing, and this goes out especially for my Christians, but to anyone who's looking to make a difference in how we view others, you have to remember that they are human beings too. You have to remember that the people you are talking to are not dumb. They're not stupid. They're not lesser than because they believe something different than you. They are people who had different experiences which led them up to the point of now where they believe what they believe, especially to you Christian people, because if you just boil it down to, well, this is what the Bible says, without letting God minister to their emotions, then people will be turned off from the gospel. I learned that from Preston Perry, by the way. Shout out Preston Perry. But when you hang out with people you disagree with, when you empathize with them, it teaches you that these people are human, just like you. And they were socialized differently, and they grew up with different experiences, and they need to be taught what is correct. And that's where you come in, young man, young woman, especially Christian young men and women. And are there going to be people that hate you regardless? Yes. And it's going to take years of dismantling preconceived notions, because change doesn't come overnight. But when there's a wave of empathy that overcomes a mass group of people, that's when things start to change. But it starts with you. Since these algorithms dehumanize people, it is our job as people, and especially for the Christians out there, to humanize these people. And don't just take my word for it, take the word for it. Matthew chapter 5 verses 43 to 44 and verses 46 to 47. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. For if you love those who love you, what reward do you have? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? If you greet only your brothers, what more are you doing than others? Do not even the Gentiles do the same? Jesus himself tells us Christians, and those who are not believers, just take this as wisdom, to greet those who you disagree with, who you would consider your ideological enemies. And maybe for the apostles, they're literal enemies. Because when you show them love, when you humanize these people, there's no room to view them as lesser than. There's no room to view them as stupid, because these are people with their own experiences who have felt their own things. Now, I'm not saying that this care for people you disagree with is easy. Matter of fact, it is one of the hardest things to do, because everything within you wants to attack the person who attacks your identity, it feels impossible. You want to defend yourself. You want to yell back at the person who's screaming at you. But what does that do? It only causes more dissension. It only hurts more people. All for what? You to feel a little better about yourself. And I'm not even saying that I'm better, because I have been guilty of dehumanizing those I disagree with. But I've learned that it takes you nowhere. It changes nothing. We were called to empathize with people. You have to feel what they feel. You have to put yourself in their perspective, because that is what leads to true healing. And solution number 2 is spend less time online. Spend less time scrolling through Instagram. Spend less time on YouTube. Spend less time on Twitter, especially. And spend less time on TikTok and any other social media platform I miss. I'm not going to list them all. But spend less time on those platforms. Since they incentivize division, if that's all you're seeing, your mind is going to become accustomed to being angry all the time. That will become your norm. And yes, the internet is a fun place, full of new information, full of lots of entertainment, fun games, interesting topics, all things that can be discussed and can be a great hub for community. But it can also be to our detriment. So sometimes you gotta put the phone down. You gotta relax. Take a deep breath. Go for a walk. Plan something with your friends. Do something away from technology. Now, after listing these 2 solutions, do I think that all of a sudden the world's gonna be healed? Everybody's gonna go outside and be like, I understand you. Now I love you. And hug and embrace and hold hands and sing kumbaya? That is not gonna happen. It can't happen. It's ridiculous. It's unrealistic. Change doesn't happen immediately. Changes like these, changes of the heart, are progressive. They take day after day, working hard, being persistent. I mean, it took only 12 men, technically 13, to change the entire globe. And they didn't change the world in one night. But after years and years of work, and years and centuries, you have to be the light in the midst of the darkness. You have to shine so that other people can see the proper way. Don't let anyone dim your light. Make sure that your lamp is full of oil, so when the groom comes, you are ready to be taken. I know I personally am going to make an effort to try to empathize with those who I disagree with. I will try to empathize with the other person, whether I agree with them or not. Because what Christ calls me to do is show love and tell the truth in love. In doing so, I want to be a vessel. I want to be used by the Holy Spirit to minister to the hearts of people. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment down below. Do you agree with my take that we need to show empathy to heal the polarization, the division that we see across the aisle? Should we really be reaching out? Do you disagree? Do you think that we're doomed, that everything's gonna end and that we're all gonna die because of a civil war? Does it even matter? I want to hear your opinion. Please tell me what you think. And did you know we have a loneliness crisis? I mentioned before that I have a video on that. I think you should go check it out, because this issue is happening right under all our noses. So if you want to watch that, the video should be up here. It better be here. Eli, you better have edited it properly. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.